Welcome to Transformative Principal, where we interview real principals who are doing amazing things to help our students every single day. I'm your host, Jethro Jones. You can find me on Twitter at Jethro Jones. So now you're going to East Midvale.
Mm-hmm.
Let's switch gears and talk about
Okay.
what kinds of things you want to take with you there. What kinds of things you want to ensure are your top priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much time you've spent over there yet, so you can include talking about that and what you've learned so far. But what are some of your thoughts about that?
Well, unfortunately, I haven't had a whole lot of time to spend there yet, a little time. But I'm going to draw on the Title I experience that I have in knowing that it's a completely unique set of needs that the students at that school are facing. And I'm very confident in the principal that's there right now. I just have heard so many accolades, so many positive things that she's put in place since she's been there. And I have to be really honest, I am not going to want to go in and change anything that's been working, that's been successful. I really want to take the time, again, to get to know the staff, to collectively pick their brains, to find out what it is that they've done successfully to help support the students. And they're going to be a wealth of knowledge for me. They're going to know so much more in the beginning than I could possibly know. So I'm really going to depend heavily on them to help fill in some of those blanks and to let me know what's been working, and if there's things we need to continue to work on, I want to be supportive of that. I think the same exact things that I want for Oakdale would be the things that I want for a Title I school at East Midvale. The academic rigor, having high expectations of our students, looking for innovative ways to balance the arts with the education and the academic components. Learning about the community, learning about their needs and their hopes and their desires for those students. But I don't see that there's anything different in terms of what I hope to do there. I want all my kids to, if they want, to be ready to go to college. To be productive members of the community. If they have special talents or special needs, I want them to have access to everything they need to be as successful as they possibly can. So I'm going to do a lot of listening and a lot of learning my first year, and then we'll take it from there. But I don't think that my expectations of those kids or that school are going to be any different than they are here.
I was pretty sure that was going to be your answer because from what I know of you, that is the kind of person that you are. What are you going to do with things that you are not? I had this phrased in my mind while you were just talking, and now it's left me. Obviously, things are, as you said, very unique in a Title I school.
Absolutely.
What do you see as the things that you need to be focused on in a Title I school as opposed to a school that's not Title I school?
Well, I think there are a lot of support systems within our school district. First and foremost, difference I can think of is that East Midvale is going to be educating all of our homeless students in the area. And so working closely with the liaison between the shelter and the schools, some of the things that a lot of students take for granted or come to school equipped with, those are going to be some situations we really want to address, and I need to get up to speed on how I can work with the community to make sure that those kids have everything they need so they can come to school and be successful.
And just so you know, Connie, who's the liaison, is amazing, and we have had some homeless students at our school, but not
nearly as many as East Midvale and Midvale have had, and she she cares so much about those kids, and you can see it when she talks about them, and she sometimes is pretty blunt with them, which sometimes in our politically correct um, role as a principal, we sometimes are not willing or ready to be that blunt, but she lets people know what they need to do to be successful, and education is the most important thing for your kid, and she makes sure that she communicates that to them, and it's really awesome. With her support, I think that it'll be a lot easier for you.
Absolutely. I look forward to that. And
great.
I'm going to need that support from her. And I just know in general, there's unique situations, some of which you can't anticipate that these families deal with. I used to say in the middle school, I should write a book called I Haven't Seen That One Yet. And not to be funny, but really every day was a new adventure. Every day was a new challenge. And, you just kind of have to be flexible and anticipate that that's going to happen. I am very excited about the extra support systems that come with a Title I school. And I have had an opportunity to sit in on a care committee meeting, having the full-time psychologist, having the AmeriCorps volunteer, the before and after school programs. In a lot of ways, it's like a little YMCA. It's an all day, every day, morning till night kind of a situation. So for me, that paradigm shift from the bell rings, the kids are here, the bell rings, and they go home, just learning all the different nuances of these additional supports that we give the students that need it is really going to be a big focus of mine.
Yeah, that's good. And there is so much support for the
there
kids.
Is.
And
that's the good news.
Yes, for sure. And you know that if a kid is struggling, then there is something that you can do. And it's, doesn't mean that it's easy to do it or that it's, just like that and the kid's fixed, quote unquote.
Right.
But there's definitely support that can be put in place relating to the behavior piece. What we've noticed at our school is that once we get our behavior down to a level where we can see who's really having the struggles, because it's not every single kid is filling up the office, then we're able to start working on preventing those problems from happening. And once we can start preventing those things from happening, we can focus on those specific students who we know they're going to have a problem at this specific time. So I'm going to go down to their classroom and check in and make sure that they are ready for whatever's coming up, that they can make it through that. And those types of things are what is really rewarding, is being able to put those systems in place and have someone who can go in and check in with a student and talk to that student. So I think you're going to really enjoy that. I know you've done Title I before, so I'm not like being condescending.
No, I understand. I know.
But
I know.
just in our district, there are a lot of great things that are happening. So I'd also like to know, what is something that you are maybe scared of, maybe fearful of, maybe just you don't know what it's going to be like, so you're maybe apprehensive about?
This may sound funny. Having the money, the budget, having all this money to spend, not like freely, but with Title I school comes federal funding. It's a whole different ballpark. Right. My budget here at Oakdale is pretty easy, pretty cut and dry. So I think the thing that really concerns me the most is how I'm going to make that shift in my mind from having, this basic budget that is what it is, to suddenly having other options and thinking outside of the box with those, and how you pay aides, and how you just all the different nuances that come, I think, with a different budget. It's all good, but it's just a little daunting because it's going to be bigger and more.
Right. And with that will come more people that you're in charge of. And you said your staff here was about 20 or so?
We have 16 teachers, but I'd say the entire staff is about 35, where my new staff's going to be closer to 80 or 90. So yes, that'll be another component.
Yeah.
And how do you, the important thing is delegation, and yet having a real solid relationship with all of those people, regardless of the role they play. And so yes, that will be a lot of new faces and names, and more students. And it's important to me that I know their names, that I know their siblings, that I know their family. So that's a big job.
Yeah, that is. Anything else that you're apprehensive about?
Oh, change is always a little scary, but I don't mind. It's adventure. Again, I'm adventurous, so I'm fine with change, and I look forward to challenges and getting that adrenaline going. So I think if you're not scared, you probably shouldn't be doing this.
That's right. So, with your apprehension about the budget, what are you going to do to ensure that you are prepared for it? How are you going? What processes are you going to go through to make sure that that is not just something that is something you're afraid of and you're paralyzed by fear? And how are you going to use that to overcome the struggles you have?
Well, I'm going to kidnap Sally from the HR department and have her sit down and give me a one-on-one tutorial.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to draw on the experience of my other fellow Title I principals. They've been there, they've done that. Karen Sterling, our director, fabulous resource. I think just, the best way to overcome fear is to let everybody know you're afraid of it and ask for that support. So I don't know any other way to do it, but then just, say, hey, I need you to tell me what this looks like. And I think it's just one of those things that is so critically important, of all, you just have to get it right. So I want to be sure that I ask for the help and have them sit down with me. And until I get it, we're going to talk about it.
Right. Yeah.
I think I'll get it, though. We'll figure it out.
I have no worries about that. None at all. I think that you're going to be just fine.
Absolutely.
So you're also going to have an assistant principal,
yes.
and you have not had one here. You've been one. How are in an elementary and a middle school? How are you going to? What are your plans for that? How are you going to work with that relationship? How are you going to divide responsibilities? Maybe you don't know the answers. Maybe you don't want to tell the answers, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I honestly don't have the answers to that. I think what I'd love to do is to draw on my new assistant principal's expertise and experience. And again, visit with her about what's been working, what might look different. It's just going to be a work in progress. And again, we may start out on one path and find that we go in a completely different direction. But I think having that open dialogue, that communication about what the situation's been in the past, and just kind of feeling our way through what it's going to look like in the future. But again, we're going to have to build that relationship, and I'm going to depend on her a lot. She's been there. I haven't. Right. And again, we wear different hats, but we're no more or less important. We just have different roles to play.
So one of the things that you've done at Oakdale is create a culture of trust and openness, it sounds like. And you're used to that right now, and you're going to go into a new school where you're going to be this unknown, basically.
Right.
Do you have any teachers that have gone to East Midvale or anybody that knows you there?
No one at all. Just Sally.
So and
Rebecca,
she's leaving.
And she's leaving.
So you're going to have to build that relationship again with them. What are some of the strategies you're going to use to help speed that up? You don't want to wait 4 years to get to where you're at now.
Right.
How can you speed that up and make that happen?
Well, it just so happens tomorrow morning I'm going to a staff meeting where I'm going to formally meet everyone for the first time. And I'm going to tell them what I just told you. Every single person in this building has a very important role to play. We're all very important. I just so happen to wear a different hat than you do. And unfortunately, I'm given some tasks that require, some sometimes unpleasant things. Most of the time, happy, productive, fabulous things. But I'm just going to make it very clear to each and every one of them that, we're all important. We collectively need to make things happen for these kids. I have an open door policy. I will not if you want to come in and vent and tell me what's going on and we need to do this different, I may not agree with you, but I will respectfully listen to you. And I think that's going to be the fastest way for them to see that, you know, she's going to let me talk to her. She's going to let me give my opinion and my 2 cents worth. I think at the same time, though, it needs to be a two-way street, and I think they're going to find out pretty quickly that I am not going to ask them to do anything I'm not going to be willing to do myself, and I will bend over backwards to help them as long as they're there for the kids and we're all on the same page. So, there's not a fast, quick way to do that, except to be honest with people and just give them your time, give them honest feedback.
So you can certainly go in and say that tomorrow. How are you going to get them to actually believe that?
Well, I'm going to have to be visible. I'm going to have to be in the classroom. I'm going to have to be in the hallways. I'm going to have to be there asking them every morning, how are you? What do you need from me? What supports do you lack? So, when I'm walking down the hall, if I expect all of us to keep the hallways clean, even though I'm not the custodian, if there's a piece of trash on the floor, I'm going to lean down and I'm going to pick up that piece of trash. It's going in the trash. If someone is sick in the kitchen or in the cafeteria and there's no one there but me, guess who's getting out the mop? Guess who's going to, if a teacher has an emergency and has to leave the room, guess who's willing to jump in and start teaching that class until they can get back or until we can find someone else. So just, you can talk all you want, but you've got to put your words to action. And I think the best way to do that is just to get out and be a part of what's going on, not just sitting behind your desk. Right. So.
And the good thing about going to a new school is that you don't have all this paperwork and duties that you would typically keep you behind your desk. They're not.
Absolutely.
You still have to do them, but you don't know how to do them perhaps yet, and so you might
as well be out there doing productive things,
yeah,
right?
Yes. Absolutely. So this is, I think what you're talking about is what makes a principal, a transformative principal, the communication and the things that you're willing to do and working hard, doing the same things that you expect your teachers to do. I think all that really is what sets you apart from others. And you certainly have a reputation in our district, which is why I wanted to interview you, because the things that you're saying right now are things that I have heard from other people in the district. And so you're not blowing smoke. Nope. You're not just saying this. This is really who you are. And I think that is very important. And as you said, there's no quick solution. We may try to speed up the trust thing, but that definitely takes time. And there's going to be that time where the new lady may not be all she's cracked up to be just yet. But once you can show that you're willing to do those things, I think people will jump on board as they have here at Oakdale. So at the end of each of my interviews, I ask 2 questions.
Okay.
The first one is, what is one thing you would suggest a principal do right now to become a transformative principal like you are?
Surround yourself with people that are much smarter than you are. And just know you can't be a one-man show, nor do you want to be. Because collectively, minds are just, it's amazing what you can do as a group. You can't do it by yourself.
That was a great answer. And very succinct, too. Usually people like to go on about that one, but that's good. The last question is, what's something that's here in your office that reminds you of why you're doing your job or helps you focus on what's most important?
Well, I think if you look around, you're going to see some things that were created by students. I love flowers. Flowers to me are just, for whatever reason, symbolic of stretching and growing and, starting out small and expanding to be the biggest thing you can be. And, I have this picture right behind me of a 4th grade class a couple of years ago, created an art project to be auctioned off at our arts night. And I am the proud owner, after much haggling back and forth, under a pseudo name, I might mention, because once they found out the principal was auctioning, it was like, oh, we're gonna outbid her,
Right.
like that. So every time I look at that picture, I look at all those individual flowers, and they're all individual students, and they've all come through the school with one purpose, and that was to expand and grow. And I just hope I had a little teeny tiny part in helping them to do that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'll make sure I take a picture of that and
Okay.
share that when I publish this. That's very cool. I did not realize that was done by students when I first walked in. Now that I look at it closer, I can see that it does look more like students did it, but it still is a very beautiful image. And so they made each of those flowers and then just put them on the background.
The background, the vase was made by our art volunteer for the classroom, but all the students made their very own flower, and collectively it made quite the bouquet.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, is there anything else that you wanted to say or talk about before we sign off?
Only that I expect you to come back and let me interview you next time, because you're doing some really innovative and fascinating things that I think it's just unique. I love that you're doing this, so I'd like to turn the tables on you and interview you if you don't mind. I'm not as good as you, but I may have a script, but
I gotta tell you, it's not rocket science.
Okay, well, if you'll promise you'll let me do that, then we're good.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was awesome. And thank you so much for downloading and listening to this podcast. Please subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher, and please feel free to give us a rating on Stitcher Radio or on iTunes so that we can help spread the word about how much we're learning in this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. You can find me on Twitter @Jethro Jones.